Barakatah Yahweh, Barakatah Yahweh Shai, Barakatah Yahweh, Barakatah Yahweh Shai, Call Allah Yahweh, Basham, Yahweh Shai, Basham, Rakah Quadash. This your brother Ram Kamar Bun Yahweh with the lesson. It says, New York Times, as a black child in Los Angeles, I could not understand why Jesus had blue eyes. I must have been no older than 6. I was in church in my hometown, Los Angeles. Parishioners fan themselves to stay cool in the packed, stuffed room. On one side of the fan had an illustration of an Ozzie and Harriet like family, father, mother, son, daughter, all were black like the parishioners in the church. So this is that Ozzie and Harriet they was talking about. I guess it was a show back in the day. Never heard of this show, but I guess it was a show, like a family show, you know. On the other side was an illustration of Jesus Christ, right? Which we know the letter J is only 400 to 500 years old. And you don't call the Lord Christ, it's Hamashiach, but getting into it, you know, fair skin, right? It's basically saying pale. Fair hair, which basically means stringy. Blue eyes. Something seemed amiss, which means something seemed wrong. So the fan they're fanning has a family on it, and the family's black, like so-called black, like the people that's in the church. So that seems right. But then you got the other side, where we got a so-called self-proclaimed white man on the other side with blue eyes, right? Or whatever color eyes, but looking different than the people that's there, right? Something seemed amiss to me about that depiction of Christ. Why was he white? Right, exactly. Why was he not black? Like my family, like me. As I grew older, I learned that the fair skin, blue eyed description of Jesus has for centuries adorned stained glass windows and altars in churches throughout the U.S. and Europe. But Jesus, a Jew born in Bethlehem, presumably had the complexion of a Middle Eastern. See, but that's someone speaking without any understanding, because people always say the Middle Eastern, And Esau comes from the so-called Middle East. He lived in Mount Seir, but he's still the so-called white man, right? You know, he came from Isaac and Rebekah, just like Jacob did, but he has the mark of sin, just like Cain, right? Which is white skin is actually a sin. That's the mark of sin, which is white skin. Yeah, this is Numbers. Just so you know, this is the reason why the Lord is angry. Is because Miriam and Aaron spoke against the Lord. So I'm just going to go straight to the point. But if you want to know the whole entire story of exactly why the Lord was angry with them, you can just go back and read the whole chapter. It says, Numbers chapter 12, verse 9, and the anger of Yahweh was kindled against them, and he departed, and the cloud departed from off the tabernacle. And behold, Miriam became leprous, white as snow. And Aaron looked upon Miriam, and behold, she was leprous, right? So white. So the Lord turned Miriam into a white woman, basically. You know, like the same picture that guy was saying they're in a all black, so-called black church. And on one side of it was like a black family, which matches up. But on the other side was a picture of who they call Jesus, which is a Greek name, which there's no letter J's in the Hebrew. And the letter J is only 400 to 500 years old, right? So let's see what Aaron says. And Aaron said unto Moses, alas, my Lord, I beseech you, which beseech you mean I beg you, I plead of you, right? Beseech thee, lay not this sin upon us, right? So to be a so-called white person is actually a sin. So why would this be the Son of God that's pale, white, leprous, right? And the Lord, it's a sin according to the Most High. So he's supposed to be without spot or blemish or wrinkle. His son was the perfect sacrifice. To be white or leprous, it's a sin. So he couldn't have been a perfect sacrifice if he was white, right? It said, lay not this sin upon us, wherein we have done foolishly, and wherein we have sinned, right? And that's speaking against Moses, but the Lord laid upon her a punishment, and the punishment was to turn her leprous white as snow, which is Leviticus 13:9. When the plague of leprosy is in a man, then he shall be brought unto the priest, and the priest shall see him, and behold, if the rising be white, right, in the skin, right? So you start turning white. I mean, and it have turned the hair white, and there be quick raw flesh in the rising. It is an old leprosy in the skin, and his flesh, and the priest shall pronounce him unclean, and shall shut him up, for he is unclean. Right? Skip down. Because when you go into raw flesh, that's what a lot of white people, their flesh, that looks like raw flesh, like raw meat. Let's go down to Leviticus 13:25. Then the priest shall look upon it, and behold, if the hair in the bright spot be turned white, right, and it be in the sight deeper than the skin, it is a leprosy broken out of the burning. Wherefore the priest shall pronounce him unclean. It is the plague of leprosy. Right? So why would the Lord have his son have, was it quick raw flesh, or turn them white, when the Lord said that you're unclean, you're unfit to even be around the congregation? It says, but if the priest look upon it, and behold, there be no white hair in the bright spot, and it be no lower than the other skin, but be somewhat dark, right? Then the priest shall shut him up 7 days, right, to see if it turns back, see if it stays dark. If it stays dark, then you're clean, then you're good, right? And the priest shall look upon him the 7th day. So 7 days, and come back to you 7 days later, look upon him. And if it spreads, so if it ends up spreading much abroad in the skin, then, right, which white people have leprosy through their whole body, it's not just spots. So the Lord said, if you got spots, you're unclean. You know what I mean? That's leprosy. But you have a clean leprosy, right? But the whole point of you being leprous in itself is a sin, right? So, was it? Yeah, it spread much abroad in the skin, then the priest shall pronounce him unclean. It is the plague of leprosy. Right?
The word Jesus came from a Greek word, Jesus. And the Greek word Jesus was a Greek deity. And the word, as a matter of fact, the letter J was never in the original Hebrew language, nor the Greek language. J was never there. Even today, the Hebrew alphabet has no J. The Greek alphabet has no J. The J was the last letter that was introduced into the English language late in the 1500s. And the J letter came because a Catholic monk by the name of Dialytos was experimenting with the I and put the hook on the bottom of the I and made it a J. And that's how the J letter came into the English language. So his name was never Jesus.
right? There's no letter J. The letter J does not exist in Hebrew alphabet. The Yod is the smallest Hebrew letter and is pronounced as a Y. So my name would be pronounced Yo Tent, not Jonathan. Translation of the Hebrew name into English, which would be Jonathan instead of Yo Nuntan, right? It says if the letter J is only 400 or 500 years old, why there a J sound that? Says I understand that the letter J is recently new, perhaps 400 or 500 years old, but since there has been important names that begun with J, which that means nothing, right? Who cares if there's been names that is now pronounced with J? It don't really exist. So basically, your name is a lie when it starts with J. Yeah, this is Daniel chapter 10, verse 5. Then I lifted up my eyes and looked, and behold, a certain man clothed in linen. Right? So I'm going to show you how this matches up with the Apostle John's vision, which is thousands of years apart from each other, right? Whose loins were girded with fine gold of Uphaz, right? Because Solomon had a navy with Hiram Abith, and they used to sail 3 years, and they would get gold in America, or what they would call Turtle Island, which is in America. So, and they will sell back. So it's a year and a half there and a year and a half back. They would get the finest gold, best gold from over here and what they call America now, which is Babylon the Great. His body also was like the beryl, right? Beryl, when you look up the beryl, it's a gem, which is like a green color. So in this, watch when you, and his face as the appearance of lightning, right? And his eyes as lamps of fire, Salakia, and his arms, right? See that proves that it's not talking about his body like he's green, like people like that. Well, he's olive color or whatever. Only olives are black and green. There's no green people. So even though it's telling you that the barrel is green, it's not saying he's green. The garment that he's wearing is green, right? Because now it's going into his arms, and his arms and his feet, right? And your arms and your feet are the same color as the rest of your whole body, approximately, because, sometimes your arm is more out exposed to the sun. So if you have melanin, your melanin allows you to be darker, on your arms, but then your feet, right? It's pretty much the same color as your body, right? Especially back then, they used to wear sandals. So they didn't have like tennis shoes. So his feet, like in his feet, like in color to polished brass,
right? What color is brass? Brass is already like a brownish, goldish, brownish type color, right? It's basically like, it's like a brownish because especially once you polish it, it makes it more like a brownish color, right? And his voice and the voice of his words like the voice of a multitude, right? So this is Revelation chapter 1, right? So I'm going to show you that this is John having approximately the exact same vision as Daniel. Matter of fact, let me show you who he's having a vision about. This is, to revelation or to reveal something is what that is, what he's going to do. So the revelation of who the world ignorantly calls Jesus Christ, but we just learned that the letter J didn't exist, and especially in Hebrew, right? So the Lord is a Hebrew Israelite, right? Hebrew is his his native tongue or his language, and Israelite is his nationality. So, the revelation or the revealing, basically, of Yahushai Hamashiach, which God Yahweh gave unto him to show unto his servant things which must shortly come to pass. And he sent and signified it by his angel unto his servant John, which is John the Apostle, which some people call John the Revelator, right? The Revealer. John the Revealer. That's basically what that means. So I'm going to show you that he's revealing the exact same vision that Daniel had, but he's going to get more in depth with it. Okay? Let's follow along. Revelation chapter 1, verse 12. And I turned and looked, the voice that spake, right, unto me, just like Daniel said. He said he lifted up his eyes, right? I turned and looked, and I turned to see, right? To see and to look is the same thing. The voice that spake with me, and I being turned, saw 7 golden candlesticks, right? And in the midst of the 7 candlesticks, one like unto the Son of Man, which is another phraseology or a word that represents who the world ignorantly calls Jesus Christ. Clothed, right, with a garment down to the foot. Same thing with linen. Linen is garment, right? And girt about the paps with a golden girdle, right? And it said loins, and your loins is like your midsection. Same thing. Going into the exact same thing, right? His head, and his hairs were white as snow. Was white and like wool. Salakia. His head and his hairs were white like wool. So white is the color and woolly is the texture on top of his head, on the top of his face. Because what we know, Israelite customs, you must have a beard, right? Unlike how they have a lot of those pictures, some of those pictures with who they have so-called Jesus Christ don't even really have a beard. He'll have like a little small fuzz down at the thing. And then some of them, they have where he had a beard. But you have to have a beard, right? So let's go into, So his hairs, his head and his hairs were white like wool, right? white's the color, woolly's the texture, and white as snow. His eyes were as a flame of fire, right? It said lamp of fire. So this one's saying the flame of fire, and the lamp and a flame of, it's the same thing. It's a lamp. It's just fire, so you can see. It's like fire, basically. And his eyes like as a flame of fire, right? A flame of fire, lamp of fire, right? What's in the lamp? Especially back in those days, what you put a fire in the lamp, and then you close it, and then you let the thing go, and then it burns. So it's a fire, flame of fire, right? And his feet, right? Here we go, because it said his arms and his feet in Daniel's. So this was just gonna go right into this part. And his feet like unto fine brass, right? Pretty much like it was saying in Daniel's, as if they burnt. Now he's giving you an extra one. As if they burned in a furnace, right? Now your feet is the same color of your body, essentially. Besides these days we wear tennis shoes, so a lot of times your shoes, your skin on your feet might be a little bit lighter, but it's pretty much the same color as the rest of your body. I mean, it's part of your body because that's your skin tone. That's what you look like, right? So it's saying that he's a very dark-skinned man. And if you burn anything, it turns what? Black. And then what it says, and his voice as the sound of many water. And it said in Daniel's, what? As a multitude. The words of his voice like the multitude, which is the exact same thing. So, this goes into who the world ignorantly calls Jesus Christ is a so-called black man. It's, John chapter 14, verse 8. Philip said unto him, Lord, which is talking to Yahushua, show us the Father, which is talking about Yahweh, the Abanawa, Yahweh, and it suffered to us. Yahushua, right, because we know the letter J didn't exist, said unto him, have I been so long time with you, and yet has thus not known? Like, have I been this whole time with you? Haven't I taught you something by now? Don't you know this already? That's basically like what he's saying, right? Does not know me, right? Has thus not know me? Philip, right? And you put a question mark. He that have seen me have seen the Father. So he said, wait, if you've seen me, you've seen the Father. He that have seen me have seen the Father. So you've seen Yahushua. It tells you that he's the express image of the Father. And how saith thus then, show us the Father? Hebrews chapter 1, verse 3. Who being the brightness of the glory and the express image of his person. Matter of fact, let's go up one. Matter of fact, let's just do this. It says, Hebrews 1:1, Yahweh, who at sundry times in diverse manners spake in times past unto the fathers, right, of Israel, right? Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, by the prophets, hath in these last days spoke unto us by his Son, whom he hath appointed heir, right, of all things, by whom also he made the worlds. right? Which goes into that whole thing. Yahushai and the angels made the worlds, plural. You know what I'm saying? Who being the brightness of his coming, right? A brightness of his glory, and right here go, and the express image of his person. So if the Lord was on this earth, Yahweh, which is talking about the Most High, he would look just like Yahweh Shai, right? But he's not gonna come down to the earth. So that's why he sent his son, Yahweh Shai. And beholding all things by the word of his power, right? Which goes into his voice or his words, like the multitude, or his voice, the sound of many waters, because it has its power. When he had by himself purged our sins and sat down on the right hand of the majesty on high. Right? This is Daniel chapter 7, verse 9. And I beheld, right? Which means feast your eyes, pay attention, right? He's looking at something. Till the thrones were cast down. What thrones? All the other thrones, or all the so-called rulerships, starting with Esau, Edom. In these last days, the Lord is going to dethrone all you nations, starting with Esau. The ancient of days did sit. Who's the ancient of days? It's the Most High, Yahweh, the Father. Did sit, whose garment was white as snow, which is talking about his garment. Material, linen, right? The linen, the garment, the clothing is white as snow. Now, this is talking about something completely different. And his hair, right? His hair of his head like the pure wool. So in Revelation, it said that Yahushua had hair or was white and woolly, right? So and then it said his feet like the color of fine brass, as if it burnt in a furnace. So he's a dark-skinned, woolly hair, so-called black man who's going to come back in anger to rule this world, right? So at his throne was like the fiery flames, and his wheels as burning fires, which is talking about a chariot, what the world ignorantly calls UFO, or flying phenomenon, or unidentified flying phenomenon, right? Right. Let's skip down here. It says, I saw in the night vision, and behold, right, which means he saw, he's looking, feast your eyes upon, one like the Son of Man, right? Going back to what it said in Apostle John, Apostle John. John, what they call John the Revelator, back in Revelation 1, Son of Man, come close, come with the cloud of heaven, right? Which is talking about a chariot, UFO, what they call UFOs, or flying phenomenons, and came to the Ancient of Days, and they brought him near before him, right? And there was given him dominion and glory and a kingdom, right? Like it was talking about earlier. His father gave him the power, the authority, him who made what? The worlds, plural, right? Gave him power and authority. So this is backing that verse up that was in Hebrews, right? Hebrews 1:1 going down. So this is backing up Hebrews right here. This is Daniel's. And there was given him dominion and glory and a kingdom, that all people, nations, languages should serve him. His dominion is an everlasting dominion which shall not pass away, and his kingdom that which shall not be destroyed, right? Unlike Esau, Edom. So they're only trying to defy the son of the power, Yahweh, Bashem Yahweh Shai, and they're going to have to get moved out of the way. And the thrones, their thrones, just like Yahweh already basically prophesied, and the words of Yahweh go out and will never come back void, right? And I beheld till the thrones were cast down, and the Ancient of Days did sit. And he already promised his son dominion over the worlds. So with all that, I like to give all praises and all honor and all glory unto Yahweh, Ba'asham, Yahweh Shai, Ba'asham, Rakal Quadash. Double honors to the elders from Abba Bibbins on down to the elders that rule well today. Salutations and salute to the elect of the nation of Israel. And shalom to the Akwaf that's listening and learning. And we'd like to give a death to America.